Hi everyone, how you going? So there's some major issues happening at the moment. We've got a lady on the Hinkler page. It appears her account's been hacked from a UK porn site. We've had that before. Over the course of the last couple of years, it's become very evident that many porn sites, gaming sites from overseas have accessed people's Indue accounts. And this isn't the first time this lady's gone through this, because her husband's account was hacked in January. So I suggest everybody who's on a card at the moment start checking your statements, because they're having a problem again. And Indue have a habit of not fixing these problems. A lot of these people don't get the money back that gets stolen, right? So that's an issue. Another reason for the card to be scrapped is because every man and his dog across the world can just hack in and take whatever. So I'm seeing a lot of comments regarding Centrelink here. Now, they said that their job applications were suspended, or reporting was suspended until the 31st of March. But we've got a lot of people here who are still being told they have to report, and if they don't report, their payment days are getting further and further away. They're not getting paid. We've got people complaining that they're trying to upload their income, and people are trying to upload their job seeking information, and they're not, because obviously we've got a few people around the place that don't understand that you can no longer write down the jobs you've gone for and take it into a job agency. You have to upload all of that information on your MyGov and the Job Active portal. And I've got a guy here who applied for 18 jobs this morning and can't input them into his MyGov Job Active account portal. All right, and he's running out. He's had a gutful. His mental health is really suffering. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people are getting stressed out. There's some people picking fights on the bloody sites. It's driving. I've just had to throw somebody out of Hinkler group for being argumentative and accusative of a person who's just been hacked and had money taken from their Indue account. And he was just stirring shit. He really was. Do you know what I mean? I think the whole system's in meltdown. It really is. It's obvious. It is. I don't know. It's a mess. What can I say? It's a mess. All right. A lot of people are gonna run into so many troubles with this, and it's like, if they don't get the cash flowing for the people that are applying now within the next couple of weeks, you're gonna have so many people. I did see, I think one state, I'm not sure which one it is. One of the states has passed a law through Parliament today that people cannot be evicted for non-payment of their rents. Okay, but that's only one state. This needs to be across the country, you know what I mean? Because we're going to have a lot of people going homeless. Now, somebody sent me a link. It's on my own page, not on the Hinkler page or anything. And so it's here on this page that I'm talking to you on. And I haven't looked into it as yet, but there's a caravan park around the place. Barcaldine Regional Council has told people no new residents will be allowed to enter the facilities. Existing residents must leave by 9 a.m. Friday, 27th March. So I'm presuming they don't have any permanent residents, but if they do, where are those people going to go? Interesting, hey? Still no word on what's going to happen with all our homeless people around the country and where they're going to go and what provisions are being made for them. What sort of accommodations are being made for them. All right, it's such a mess here. Other countries have got their act together, but Australia's still really lacking behind. So there's an urgent plea for tents in Aboriginal overcrowded Indigenous communities, or anything to help with self-isolation, because they've got such a bad problem with too many people living in one broken down old house, right? I posted an article that SN7 Resources shared, and it's decades of social housing underspends and the blatant rotten of Aboriginal housing and service budgets by successive governments has come full circle. Because remember, I think, most of their housing money was taken away from them, Aboriginal doctors in regional centres are sounding the alarm about overcrowded housing as a massive problem, make it very hard to stop the rapid spread of COVID-19, and are calling for urgent provision of good quality tents or any safe place where people can isolate within communities. I don't know, what do I say? Okay, so Kelly says that the homeless are still sleeping in the streets in Brisbane, but some of them did have masks. That's not enough. It's not enough at all. It's not good enough. They should be putting them into hotels. There's plenty of hotels that have lost many bookings, right? Put them into hotels. At least they can, and better still, the ones that have got a kitchenette in them or something like that, and then give them some money to go get some shopping, and they can have a hotel room, they can have a shower and clean up, and they can cook themselves a meal, you know what I mean, and they can organise to get them food in and stuff like that, if that's the case, you know what I mean. But yeah, nothing's being done about our housing situation, and oh dear, a lot of these people are applying are getting knocked back. Lots of wrong information. They're being told one thing by the minister on the TV, then they go into Centrelink and they get told something else by somebody else. And it's just confusing a lot of people, but leaving a lot of people very, very scared. Very, very scared. Do you know what I mean? I was watching the news this morning, and one young person was saying that they're going to get means tested by their parents, but that tells me that she's under 22. And she's going, but her parents won't be able to afford to do anything for her. How's she going to pay her rent? You know what I mean? That sort of thing. I saw one here where an overseas worker from Colombia, and Colombia's a poor country, do you know what I mean? Her boss sponsored her to come and work here, and he's had to shut down, and it looks like he's managed to give her enough money for 1 month, but she can't leave the country either. And she was supporting her family over in Colombia, which is what a lot of people do. Anybody would look after their parents, or anything like that. And she was in tears on the television, not sure what to do, because she's stuck. She doesn't know what she's going to do after the end of the month, and she won't have any. She's got no income to pay her bills or send money home to help her family, and she can't leave the country. She's being a non-resident, all right? They've got to change the rules around this special visa and basically do like New Zealand's done. Pay anybody who's in the country. You can't leave people destitute and on the streets. You just can't. And they're planning to do that with about 2 million people, because you've got 1.5 million asylum seekers that are out on their ass. And you've got the New Zealanders that have been working here for years, paying taxes, that are suddenly being told, no, you can't get anything. You know what I mean? And they can't go home to New Zealand because everything's shut down. There's a lot of holes in this, and these ministers come on TV and they don't know what they're talking about, because they don't realise that when you go into Centrelink, one person will say this and then another person will say that. They don't upload documents. I've just been through that myself this morning, because about 3 or 4 months ago I went and sent a whole heap of documents through for my daughter, and the woman told me straight out they were never sent from that office. Yet I handed them over the counter myself, and I was promised that they'd be done by noon that day for her, and they weren't done. So, I don't know. They've got to get this under control real fast, because, it's Wednesday. 1 million people unemployed all of a sudden, and those people have to pay rent and food and electricity. And I wish we could knock it off with the, why do people who get nothing get the bonus and the stimulus? All right, and this constant separation of, new people coming into the system. Why should the people that are already on the system get the pay rise type thing? And it's like, stop the division. Just stop the division, because the people that have come before you, right, they're going to feel so much relief for this temporary pay rise because they've been living on half of that. You know, and all the new people coming on are going to be coming on an inflated rate. And even those going on a card in the card areas are going to be getting an inflated rate, which means they get an inflated rate of cash, right, which distorts the truth of what benefits are like right now for everybody else, you know, and what 20% of your payment is on a cashless debit card is $7 a day. Is going to be elevated for these new people coming onto the system. And the only ones that will find out when it gets cut off again are the ones that get left on the system. It'll be interesting, to say the least. It'll be interesting when we get through all of this and all of the businesses start advertising for workers again, if the ones that were long-term unemployed that were trying before get a look in, or it'll just be the ones that lost their jobs now that automatically get the jobs back, or get other jobs, get overlooked for the long-term unemployed that haven't been able to get a job. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because you're going to have upwards of about 30% in this country unemployment. They're saying 10%, but be realistic, it's going to be 30%. There's going to be a lot of hard lessons learned, but unfortunately there's going to a lot of people are going to end up homeless if they don't do something about the rents and mortgages. All right, there's going to be a lot of people who end up hungry, all right, and there's going to be people who are going to die through this, apart from just dying from COVID-19, actually dying just from the stress of it, because a lot of people just won't be able to cope. Virgin just stood down another 8,000 workers today. You know, a lot of their casuals don't have any money. They're, you know, because, you know, really these companies shouldn't be having casuals. They should be having people paid properly. Everybody should have a full-time job. But no, it's easier to break down one full-time job and into 4 casual jobs, and then you don't have to pay. And if you're not, if I remember correctly, if you're employing somebody under 10 hours a week, you don't have to do superannuation for them. You know what I mean? So you don't have to go through all that paperwork. And there's a lot of people out there who are not getting 10 hours a week, all right, that have now lost their little bits of money and stuff like that. I don't know what's going to happen. It's a mess. Anyway, I'll get off for now, and I'll come back on if anything else. Shit. Bugger. Kelly just said her daughter could be homeless if her roommate loses his job. Yeah. Well, it's just... trying times for everybody, isn't it? And they can scramble as much as they like. They've had months to sort things out. This is the result of cutting privatisation and just going for enforcing punitive policies on our social security system and destroying it, right? Because if it hadn't been attacked and sold off and privatised and everything like that, it probably would have been able to cope better. Maybe if it had to upgrade in computer systems instead of relying on Windows 98, and then they had the problems because Windows 98 they couldn't get the patches for anymore. You know what I mean? And it was just a patch system, patch, and it's not compatible with new IBM systems, and the whole lot just collapses. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But, oh well, they didn't want to spend the money. They didn't want to invest the money in it. They wanted to privatise it and then leave it to the private contractors to spend the money. Yep. So our government shut itself down until August, and then sets up a coronavirus commission to deal with all the coronavirus stuff, and hands it over to the ex-CEO of Fortescue Metals, Twiggy Forrest Company, to run it all. Oh, what is that? What is that? I mean, is that government going, okay, this is too hard, we'll privatise the government, basically. We are the only government in the world that is shut down during this crisis, right? And then they've set up this committee with a private person who's an ex-CEO of Fortescue Metals, Twiggy Forrest Company, to run it all. I beg your pardon? Because that's the way it came across to me on the telly this morning. Is, oh, okay, we'll just shut down government and we'll run away and we won't handle this. We'll give it to somebody else. We'll handball it to somebody else. A government doesn't do that. That's not what the government's supposed to do. You know, there was ways for our government to be able to run itself through all of this. We have communication like this. You know what I mean? Everybody could have just been in their electoral offices or even at home. You know, they've all got the money to have good computers and good internet connections, and it'll all be paid for by the taxpayer anyway. So what's the excuse for shutting down Parliament in reality? Good question, eh? All right, talk to you guys later. See ya.